Hey guys, it's Kate Journey, and I am back today to plot our zombie story with you guys. As promised, it is a day late. I am doing it the morning of the day after I was supposed to post it. Life has been hectic. I have not finished things. It is what it is. I'm gonna move something in front of me that is really distracting. Okay. I'm working on a painting for book cover. See? Painting. Painting. Not finished. Not even remotely. But I'm doing that both digitally and on canvas to see which one I like more because I'm experimenting because that's what I do. Oh god. Okay, so anyway, so this might end up being 2 videos depending on how long this takes. But what this is, so I've got my sticky notes that I'm going to be writing down scene ideas on. And then I've got our notes from last week from the, our gamification that we did, our gameplay. And then what I've got here, and I've explained this before, and there's lots of videos about it, I'll link them down below, but this is Katie Tastic's 27 scene book outline. It's basically, if you're writing a book, this is kind of scaffolding, but I don't follow this religiously, so I'll be like, oh, if I need a reaction rebel scene right there, sometimes that's not what that is. Or like juxtaposition, I don't go through and try to like point out how different their life is now. I don't feel like that's necessary. There's quite a few things in here that I don't do, but having something in that spot really helps kind of keep things flowing really well. So if you're looking at it as 3-act structure, I see these ones as like act 1, and probably these ones as act 3, and then this middle is act 2. And I'll add in scenes in different places when I'm actually writing. Like basically I fill in kind of the ideas here, and then I plug in stuff elsewhere. I usually end up for a 50,000 word story, 50 to 60,000 word story, I usually end up with 100 scenes. And that's just because some of my scenes end up being like 200 to 400. I'm writing action-packed moments that bounce back and forth, or and then other scenes are, like 2,000 words long. So use this however you're going to use it. I'm using it like that in a way that works for my brain and works for my style of writing. But sometimes you're going to be cutting things instead of adding things. Sometimes you're going to have your inciting incident and your introduction in the same spot. Sometimes, all of 3 of these are going to be in one big major, couple of scenes or something. So use it however you're going to use it. You do not have to stick to this. It's just an easy way to kind of generate ideas and move things around. Okay, there's my caveat. Okay, so we have a mystery. We mystery horror, basically. So we have our 2 leaders, and I'm thinking our villain. So we've got Tate, the leader of one group, and Ace, the leader of another group. These 2 are, our good guys. And then we've got Sarah, who is our villain, who I'm thinking is going to be on Ace's team. And what I'm thinking is that these, in the beginning, instead of introducing like how the zombie apocalypse started, we're not going to worry about that. What it's going to start at is the meeting of these 2 teams. I like the idea of starting there. I've had some time to think about it. Excuse me, I am still sick again. Anyway, I think that the meeting of these 2 teams and the tension there is what sets off the entire story, because if Sarah's the bad guy, and these 2 are good guys, then I think Sarah needs to have a reason to suddenly flip on Ace and become the bad guy. And I think that that's a really good idea, a good way to kind of build that in, because part of the mystery is that we've got these taunting hidden messages to, I'm thinking to Tate. I'm thinking our main character is going to be Tate, our secondary character is going to be Ace, and then our bad guy is villain. So we've got hidden messages given to Tate from Sarah, all during a zombie apocalypse. We're going to see how this plots out. But what I wanted to do... Okay, so we're going to do types of hidden messages right now, so I can just kind of place them sporadically and move them as necessary. So we're going to go with vague... Wow, I can spell. Vague threat. Number 1. we've got threatening warning. Number 1. And then we've got, did you like that? Number 1. So like this would be after something shitty happens. So this would be like, okay, something really bad happened, and this is Sarah, unbeknownst to readers, taking credit for that bad thing happening, which is gonna happen when you've got the bad guy sending hidden messages, because the taunting is part of what makes it fun for a lot of people who are bad guys. So, and then I think we're gonna do maybe vague threats. Number 2. And then very hostile warning. Okay. And then at some point we're going to figure out who the bad guy is. So while these things are happening, we're going to have different hints throughout, and that's really hard to do in this process. So I'm probably going to be leaving out the hints, just because I usually plot the whole thing and then I kind of interject hints. And what I'll do with a mystery is I will, let me grab a note card here. When I'm writing mystery, what I'll do is I'll have the clue right here, and there'll be clues dropped throughout. So this is a list of clues, and then I'll write the clue at the top of the thing, and then I'll say how it connects to suspect 1, to suspect 2, to suspect 3, however many suspects I have, and then I'll have how it connects to the actual villain. And how they can prove that it wasn't them. So it kind of throws readers off, because the whole point is that at the end, that's the big twist at the end, is who the bad guy is. And I'm very sorry for the sound of traffic. I have no control over that. Okay, so I'm not going to be doing this in this setup. This is just something that I do when I'm writing a mystery. It works really, really well, because I can basically take my stack of note cards and I can shove clues in next to the scenes that they're supposed to be in, and then I can make sure that I include them in the action that's happening around them, so they don't seem so, oh, hey, look, we just found footprints. You know, we're trying to avoid, you know, the mystery incorporated. We're trying to avoid that. We want to find clues in a very natural way that feel more like, oh, that's right, this person said this in passing, that kind of, again, are very misleading and very subtle. Subtlety is the name of the game with a mystery, and then you want to bludgeon them over the head at the end. So we're going to leave this out, but it is an important part of this. And we're going to have these threats in, and it'll kind of take the place of these clues, because I don't want to do all of this. At least not in one video. I'm trying to get this in one video. It might end up being 2 videos, depending on how much my phone is willing to edit at once. So if you guys run into 2 videos with this, go to number 1. Hopefully it'll only be 1 video. Okay. So, and then what I do is I just take these things that I know need to be plugged into the story, and I toss them in places. So I love the idea of, did you like that? So this midpoint is where they learn something super important, and then something bad happens. So what I want here is, did you like that, to be kind of in the consequences or in the trials right here. So each of these lines, and I'll link down below how to do the 24. I don't want to go over this again, but each of these lines is a build-up, a climax, and kind of a little bit of a relief, but not a lot, because you want your story to be going up in tension throughout the story. Okay, so I do want to do very hostile warning somewhere in there. Vague threats. Number 2. Threatening warning could be in fun and games. Sure, why not? Okay, so vague threat number 1, because we're going to start with the introduction of these things and then slowly build into the mystery. I'm thinking right here, because something in here is going to make it so that Sarah wants to target Tate. We don't know what yet. Okay, so Tate meets Ace and Sarah. Because we are, the other thing that we were dealing with that I don't think got put in here. Where are you? Did I lose a piece of paper here? Oh, no, it's down here. Okay, so we're dealing with hot environments. So they're in the big city and we're dealing with food scarcity. And then we're dealing with different types of monsters. That was what I forgot. Okay, so on surface of city. Okay. And then we'll have what always happens in a zombie flick. Well, almost always. And it's because it is human nature. It is definitely human nature. There's conflict. I can write over food, water, resources. Okay, so we'll have that happens, and then Tate and Ace will find a way to resolve the conflict so that everybody gets what they need. My handwriting is so terrible. So what I want here, we're going to grab yet another color. Oh. Okay, I should have come prepared and I did not. That's okay. We're all gonna survive. Okay, so what we have here is Sarah resentment starts. She doesn't like the way Ace, Tate work together. I can fit that teeny tiny little word in there with my horrible handwriting. Okay. So for whatever reason, Sarah's decided that she resents the way that they work together here. And I'm using this separate color to kind of plot her resentments in certain places where things need to be kind of reinforced. Because what we want is we want something that causes her to start threatening and to start this whole, like, I'm going to save Ace from Tate's, that's going to be the mentality. Very likely, that is usually how that works out. And I am not going to make it so that Sarah's romantic over Tate. I feel like that's really overdone. I feel like the jealous lover is very overdone and very well done in other places. I don't need to do that here. Okay. So perhaps down here, so we'll have in this darkest moments, this is like a big attack moment. Sarah does something horrible to Ace for not leaving group. Okay, so this is going to be something that's like, this is kind of the buildup. Right now is where her resentment starts, and then she's going to have a blow up towards this end here where she finally just explodes, and she's like, look, you guys are not doing what I want you to do. You're doing the exact opposite. I've given these warnings. I've given these hints. I've done these things. I've tried to be subtle, and now I'm done being subtle, and I'm going on attack. So what usually this is Sarah does something, and then it'll be the fallout with the main characters, and then right around in here is where we find out that it is Sarah. So Sarah revealed as bad guy. Okay, this is another thing that I want to point out while I am plotting. I bounce around. I bounce around to what feels inspiring, what's in my head, what I'm thinking about, what I'm seeing. Where I know things need to be that I've already thought about, I'm putting those in first, and then I can kind of move it around as I go. Okay, so let's say, here, Sarah lets in, 2 underground tunnels. So we've got to have her escalating things. And every escalation goes with a threat. They're paired, whether it's immediate or later, they are paired. So let's go with okay, so here's where I could do calm before the storm, but what I really want to do is I want to have it explode right here. So we'll add in something where there's like, they're having a victory dinner over something that happens here. So we'll victory dinner / party. Because they've defeated whatever happens in here, right? Whatever Sarah did to sabotage them over here, they have survived, they have whatever, so they're having some sort of a victory. And then Sarah breaks the victory, and then they get a very hostile warning afterwards, like after they survive this. So we have, and see how I'm already adding things in, because I very much want to be the darkest moment. Sarah does something horrible that'll make it to where it's very difficult for everybody else in the groups to recover, especially Tate. And we'll figure out what that is as we go. Okay, and then what would happen there is they would fight off horde. Barely survive. Some losses. And then they would get this hostile warning. Like, hey, like, we either need to leave, hostile warning to Tate or to Ace. This needs to end. This relationship needs to end. We need to get out of here. And, you know, last warning, your last warning. And then Sarah does something horrible. So let's say Sarah tries to kill Ace to take over his group. So she's escalated from, hey, look, I don't like how you guys are working together, to this point of, hey, I'm willing to kill you in order to stop you because I don't like how you're doing this. So, and we'll figure out how she does that. Maybe, she stabs him. But we don't know that, so maybe we find Ace's body. He's been stabbed. He's, you know, he's out of it. He doesn't, and he keeps saying Sarah, 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 but they don't think that she's the killer. or he like defends her somehow, like Sarah wouldn't hurt me. No, you know. Um, okay, so then that would mean that our main character here would have to Tate goes to overrun hospital or something similar and gets medicine to save Ace. And this would be a very powerful power within kind of moment. This is the moment where Tate runs into death, doesn't just evade death, but runs into death to try to save Ace. So maybe for Tate and Ace, the midpoint is, I would say, Ace realizes the groups are better together. I can write. Okay, so we've got one person has a kind of a mental breakthrough here. We'll probably have a couple of scenes in between. And then I'm thinking Ace's or Tate's midpoint would have to be Tate realizing they can trust Ace to help stop villain. Whoever the villain is, they don't know at that point, but so Ace does something that convinces Tate that working together is safer, or not. Ace is convinced that working together is safer, and Tate is convinced that Ace is a decent human being and not just looking out for themselves. Okay. And they both kind of have this, okay, so the midpoint is the mirror moment, which is where like your characters look around and they decide, okay, I have to change or die. So for Tate, this would be, I have to learn to trust or I'm going to die. And for Ace, I have to learn how to work together with the separate people or I'm going to die. Whichever way this ends up, it's going to end up somewhere in the midst of this middle area. Does it have to be directly in the middle of the book? No. Is it the closer to the middle, the better? Yes. If they overlap, cool. But usually you want them kind of separated if you've got 2 point of view characters, just so that you're not having one, aha, I need to change. And then immediately later, aha, I need to change. So there's going to be some stuff that happens in between. In fact, I think I'm going to move that there and that there, and we'll add things in between. In fact, I think what would be really fun is in the middle, Sarah gets hurt. And Tate saves her, which would help build in Sarah's mind Sarah's resentment of Tate for saving her. I know for me, if I was being a real jerk and somebody came in and rescued me, I'd be probably pretty pissed off. if I was in that dark negative place. If I haven't asked for help, you leave me alone. I would die. Like, let's be real, I would die. Okay, so okay. So, and that's probably what pushes Ace over into believing that they can work together, because even though there's obvious tension between Sarah and Tate, Tate saved Sarah. So that'll be what they, yeah, okay. So what makes Tate decide to trust Ace? So maybe, let's say they find a store with a pharmacy, and Ace gets meds for someone on Tate's team. And this would be a nice foil for how it ends up at the end. Like it would be a good kind of balancing act for like, okay, Ace does this thing where incidentally he finds this medicine and he's gonna use it to help someone on Tate's team. So we'll put that there. And then in the process of that, all the rest of this happens. And then Tate's injured and they are out of medicine. They're out of antibiotics. They don't have the gauze. They don't have the sutures that they need to try to close up this wound. And he is dying. So Tate decides to go look at the pharmacy. Maybe they find a pharmacy. Actually a hospital. And actually let's have that be at the beginning. So Tate finds a hospital and Ace prevents them from going into a horde. I did not spell that correctly. Let's say there's a big horde of zombies. So let's say this is another foreshadowing event that happens in the beginning. Say that this is how they meet. Get up there, Moss. So let's say they Tate and their group is new to the city. They find a hospital. They're about to go in, and Ace stops them and says, "Look, you're gonna die," and then kind of shows them there's a massive horde that if you make a sound in there, you're gonna die. Like, massive horde. Okay. So, and then they fight over it a little bit, and then they have a conflict over the rest of their resources and whatever else that they need. Like maybe, Tate's group is also looking for food and water. And they have like a mini conflict over it, and then it's resolved. But Sarah doesn't like it, so we've got to build their relationship up to the point where they're going to be willing to sacrifice for each other here. So we need some bad things to happen. Okay, so our vague threats will come. Vague threat number 1. It's actually going to be. Let's go vague threat number 1 up there, because what I want is Sarah to follow through with something. So maybe Sarah spikes the water, makes Tate's team sick. I like that idea, especially because what they're fighting over are resources. So that makes sense. So after the vague threat, Ace would go to Tate, or no, Tate to Ace. Why are your people threatening us? And Ace denies. So he would naturally defend his group of people. He's been with them for a while. They've survived together. They are trauma bonded. So he's going to defend them. And because Tate and her team do not leave, Sarah spikes the water. And the result of that is that Tate's team almost dies. And Ace's team rescues them. Okay, so we've got Ace's team rescuing Tate's team. Now we're going to need Tate to rescue Ace somewhere in here. Besides just at the end. Oh, that's right. That one's sticky over there. Okay, So that would make sense for those things to happen. And then vague threat number 2, because obviously Ace saved them, so Ace is now invested, which means Sarah is going to be pissed off and going to escalate. Sarah's going to escalate because clearly they are not getting the message that you need to stop working together. So, and then Ace and Tate look at threats together. Almost breaks up both groups. You know, if you're working with a bunch of people that you're trauma bonded with, and then suddenly something threatening from inside the group happens, you're going to be looking at each other, you're going to be looking around, you're going to be denying it while feeling it, while scared of it, yada yada. So then we need, so this says plot twist. So this is basically like a place where the story shifts. So they're building towards teams. And actually, that's the plot twist. The twist is that now Ace and Tate are looking at their own people and talking about each other's people, and there's more infighting. And the push, let's say, conflict breaks out and draws in a bunch of zombies. I'm getting the feeling as I get older that I might actually be vaguely dyslexic, but I'm not sure because I write so weird. Okay, so we've got our plot twist. They're now looking at each other. This would add, there would be a lot of scenes in here that are like conflict scenes, you know, where they're trying to rebuild things, but this would be a theme for a good 6 or 7 scenes in here, likely. And then, you know, it would blow up in everybody's face, and it would cause, you know, obviously if there's a bunch of noise, a bunch of zombies are going to come in. So maybe during this outbreak of zombies, Sarah escalates the zombies somehow. How would she escalate the zombies? Because Sarah wants to make it look like Sarah doesn't want to be found. So Sarah's going to sabotage. I don't think I spelled that correctly. Someone on Tate's team to make them look guilty. Okay, so that'll be, while all this chaos is going on, Sarah is going to like drop what she spiked everything with in one of Tate's people's tents or in their stuff or something. And the new world, I actually do like that right now because we're having this kind of twist and there's infighting. So the new world would be Tate and Ace calling a tribunal type of thing on I think I'm gonna spell that wrong again. Person. Yeah, they're gonna call a tribunal. So on the sabotage person, and this will take up a big chunk of space too, because we're dealing with people that are having this conflicting, like, are we judge and jury now that there are no systems left, and do we let somebody who is potentially dangerous stay with our groups, and kind of that infighting, that tension, like, well, if it looks like I did something bad, are you guys gonna kick me out too? Or are you gonna kill me too? Like, what are we gonna do here? How do we want to handle this? And then they'll figure that out, and I'll probably figure out how they handle that during writing. If I was actually going to write this, it would be like, while drafting, ideas would come to me about how I would deal with that, because I would want to base it more on who the characters are and how I think they would react, and it would have to build up to this point, which is great. Okay, so then because they figured things out here, however they figured them out, everybody's uncomfortable, and then we get threatening warning number 1. So this time it is not just it's not just, hey, you're going to get hurt. It's, hey, I am going to intentionally make you pay for whatever. So, Sarah threatens to kill Ace. Yeah. Because if the person who was doing it, if she's trying to blame this other team for what she's doing, so she's going to threaten to kill Ace. But she's going to, yeah, okay. So she's going to threaten to kill Ace. But she's going to leave it threat in Tate's bed. Okay. So this is the threatening warning. This is how that will play out. So Tate comes to Ace. Guilty person is not the one they thought. So now they're going to wrestle with their feelings and having to deal with that. And then they've been living in the city, but they've been living underground. And let's say they find a pharmacy, like a backwoods pharmacy out in, towards the edge of the city. Maybe they're edging towards like leaving the city because the city is so overrun with zombies. But the problem with leaving the city is that there's more pockets of medicine and food in a big city and supplies than there would be out in the middle of nowhere. So it's kind of this trying to find the balance of, okay, in the city, I'm going to get the supplies I need, but in the city is where most of the zombies are. So maybe they're working towards the other edge of the city, trying to like maybe decide if they want to try to get out or if they want to get out of the underground, yada, yada. Okay. So, Sarah gets hurt and Tate saves her. What else did I put here? I don't remember this. Okay. And then Ace realizes the groups are better together. Even with the infighting, even with the threatening, the groups are better together. So they need to figure out who this threatening person is and stop them because everybody else would benefit from them working together as a team. I'm going to pause and drink some coffee. Okay, so let's say Ace and Tate decide to integrate teams. And have them work together, basically. Okay, and then Sarah's gonna do something super shitty because this is gonna be the did you like that? So this is now the taunting, not just threatening, but now she's taunting. So maybe while the groups are out, Sarah manages to kill another pair of people. So another group, like we'll go pair, so I know what the heck I'm talking about. So Sarah kills another pair, makes it look like they killed each other. Because Sarah's trying to, pull the pull the groups apart. Then, when it doesn't work, so let's say Ace and Tate, pull them back together. And then they get the threatening, like, did you like that? Like, obviously I've asked you repeatedly to break away. We need to go our separate ways. Now I'm killing people because you're not listening. And then Sarah does, actually, this trial and opposition comes in full force. This moment here could potentially be nothing to do with Sarah, because the real threat here, the real bad guys here, are actually the zombies. And I've, been doing a pretty good job of making sure that Sarah is the bad guy in the story, because usually it would be the humans. But I think right here, I would want a massive zombie breaks into, like, the underground, like, or underground. Okay. Yeah. So the zombies overrun the underground. And new types of zombies identified. So, like, because when we were plotting, we were talking about different types of zombies. So this is where, like, some new big bad type of zombie would come in, that they hadn't seen before. That's really, really, really bad. And then let's say we need dedication. So they fight and kill zombies and save underground bunker. So they work together. They kill all the zombies that know that they're there. They save the underground bunker. And then they have a victory party. And then Sarah lets zombies into the underground tunnel. The new bad type. So maybe Sarah's known about the bad type all along, or something. I don't know. It would be something that I would figure out as I was writing it. But she lets in the new bad type of zombie. They have to fight the horde again, and they barely survive. And then Sarah tries to kill Ace. And Tate goes to the hospital. Okay, so this is where, and then Tate's, let's say, Sarah volunteers to go with Tate. Like, saying she wants to help, she wants to save him. He's, she wants to save Ace. Ace is her friend. She loves him. She wants to save him. Yada yada. Okay, so they go. And what would happen here is they would, Tate and Sarah in hospital. And all of these last scenes happen really, really fast, which is why I say that there's more in here, because these kind of tumble into each other, just like how you can have some of these squished together. Some of these end up squished together at the end too, possibly. So yeah, Tate and Sarah, they go to the hospital, and we're not gonna reveal. Actually, no, yeah, okay, that would be where betrays Tate. So this would be where we figure out that Sarah's the bad guy, which works because at the end, it is going to have to be a Tate versus Sarah battle. Basically, they fight it out. And then what would happen is one of them would die, and we don't know who, because, I mean, it depends on how you want the story to end. If you want the story to end where these two groups of people have hope for the future, then I would say have Tate win and Sarah loses. Sarah dies. Best thing for this entire group of people is for Sarah to die, unless Sarah is right the entire time, and they need to split up because working together is bad for them. It really depends on how it plays out. I would actually almost do a twist here where Sarah dies, but they realize that Sarah was right, that being in the underground bunker. Yeah, we're gonna do that. Sarah dies, and at the end of the thing, Sarah gets her way anyway because they lose the bunker and have to run. Because that's the way that you survive in a zombie apocalypse. You never stay still, you run. Okay, and then we're missing this one here. Honestly, I don't think we're missing that one there because we've got these overlaps and this fill-in, so it would all kind of work together. So yeah, I think I like that. So what we're going to do now is we are going to take all of these and we're going to read them together in order and see if there's anything else that we need to add in. This is what I would do, actually. I don't think I'm going to do that this time around. I think this was good. If I was going to write this, what I would do is I would take all these sticky notes, I would type them into the computer, and then I would be plugging things in and different notes in while, maintaining these scenes and adding new scenes and things like that. So anyway, I think I'm done. My throat is certainly ready to be done. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. I will be back next week with, I don't remember. It's going to be something to do with writing. I'll be back next week with some sort of shenanigan nonsense to do with writing. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Bye.